Hello and welcome to the Shutter Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Cam Stirling, and I am joined by
Noel,
Lucky Roberts,
and Julien Rose.
Today we're going to be reviewing the NBA trade deadline and who we have as our biggest winners, biggest losers, biggest surprise, and the world-renowned Luka Doncic for Anthony Davis trade all on its own, going into depth, seeing the fits for both teams, and maybe some possible playoff runs in the near future for either of the teams.
From the little leagues
to the pros.
This is your weekly sports show.
Welcome to the Shutter Sports Podcast.
Take a seat at the table as we discuss. Alrighty, who wants to kick it off?
I think we should definitely kick things off with the Luka trade, just because it's so massive.
Oh, yeah.
It was earth-shattering.
Yeah. I gotta ask, do you guys think this is the biggest trade in the history of the NBA?
Yeah,
I think so.
it has to be. It has to be, for sure.
I don't think it has ever happened that like somebody at the top of their prime at 25 years old has been traded without them even knowing. So,
And coming off a championship run as well.
Yeah.
Which is even crazier, honestly.
I think the Kareem one maybe could rival it at some span, but then again, Kareem wasn't traded for.
Did Moses Malone get
big
traded?
Star.
Did Moses Malone get traded in his prime?
I believe
he
so.
went to the Sixers, I think.
No, he went
to the
from the
Rockets.
Sixers to the
From-
Rockets,
yeah.
I think. Yeah.
I think if Luka Doncic wins a championship in a Lakers jersey, it becomes the biggest trade in history.
I think it already is.
You think it already is?
Yeah.
I think it could be, yeah.
It's the situation that makes it even bigger, right? He just made the finals,
Mm-hmm.
and now they're trading for AD, who's he's notoriously always injured,
Mhm.
and now it's Luka playing with LeBron. I think that's exactly what makes it the biggest trade.
I do
right?
think people are underrating the fact that Anthony Davis is like borderline, maybe even solidified as a top 10 player in the NBA.
Yeah, no,
And it's only because of how high Luka is in this league.
yeah.
So, I mean, I feel like people are looking at AD as this injury-riddled scrub and like nowhere near the level of Luka.
He is injury riddled though.
I mean, he is.
He's
now.
already injured.
Yeah.
But like,
And he's-
he's been fairly consistent with injuries over the past 1.5 seasons.
But the biggest thing for me is it's a 25-year-old who's literally a top 3 player in the league versus a 32-year-old, right, who's maybe top 10, like you said, right? That's a really big talent gap. And especially when you just look at the two players, Luka can lead you to the finals with, Kyrie Irving in the backcourt and some good rim protectors. AD's not doing that. AD's not getting close to that,
I
right?
agree. I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, he had his own team in New Orleans, and look how that worked out.
Exactly.
Second round, that was their best performance. I think the biggest thing for me is, at least what makes it the biggest trade ever, is the shock factor, because there was literally zero rumors going into it, and as was confirmed by Nico Harrison, the Mavs GM, he only talked to Rob Pelinka, and it was like 2 weeks of them, like they started with coffee, and then it was like, would you ever do this? And then
They went to get coffee together?
He initiated the talk, which is crazy.
They had to keep it low key, right? That you can't be saying, yeah, Luka's on the trade block, because you'll have teams throwing.
Oh yeah.
Like how many picks? Freaking 5 first-round picks, or you can't.
But you
If you're
wanted
the
to do that.
Lakers, if you're the Lakers, you do that. But how do the Mavericks not do that?
That honestly.
How do you
could
not
have
shop
been,
Luka around to everywhere?
I guess he wanted AD. I don't know. Hey, I have my own theory, but behind all of that,
I think that was to detriment because if the Mavs did say, "Hey, Luka's up for grabs," what do you think the bundles for Luka would have been flying at him?
The Jazz would have given up their entire roster.
Yeah.
The whole roster.
But Luka doesn't go to the Jazz.
Yeah, for one, like they're going to be noticing that everybody's going to be going after Luka, so every team is going to try and outbet every other team, raising the value incredibly high. I think this was a horrible move by Nico Harrison to keep it a secret, because then
Good for Pelinka, though.
Oh,
very good for Pelinka, but just the scale of the trade when it's just two teams talking is not as big as it should have been for the stars that were involved.
Yeah. I mean, if you guys could allow me, I could get quickly into there's this theory going around, right, in the NBA landscape, I guess, where as you guys probably know, Mark Cuban sold most of his or all of his shares, right, from the Mavericks. He was a big owner of the Mavericks for a lot of years. He made his money, whatever, right? there's this family called the Allison family, I believe, that they own a lot of casinos or casino-related practices, I guess, in Vegas. And when they bought the Mavericks, they had one goal in mind, and they went. This is public. They actually said this. This is actually public. They went out saying that we want to push the gambling laws in Texas, which, if you guys might know, you're not allowed to gamble on sports. I believe in Texas, you're not allowed. It's not illegal. And there's this theory going around saying that they're trying to alienate the fan base, right? And Nico is basically just a pawn, I guess. And they're trying to alienate the fan base to drive the team in maybe 2027, 2028 to Vegas, relocate the team because they want to push those laws. Now, I know it's crazy, right? It's a very, very crazy conspiracy. If you actually look into it, a lot of things actually make sense.
I was with you until the relocation. Because
it doesn't make even for me, it's like, why would they want to relocate
from Dallas?
It's a big market. I know it's a big market.
I will say though, there are 3 Texas teams, so
exactly
there is competition.
Yeah, there is a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of, and the Spurs are up and coming.
Think
of
how many Texas basketball fans there are.
Yeah.
That are split between 3 teams.
And
if you go to Vegas, you're gaining capital, you're gaining fans,
everything.
And they're gaining money since they're involved with casinos. Do you know how many sponsorships they're going to run if they get a location in Vegas?
And Nico Harrison is already went on record saying that he's not there long term. He said something along those lines.
Because he knew he made the worst trade in history.
But he knows what he's doing, right? He's a pawn. He's
the
just
owners,
a pawn.
I just came right up to him saying, "Hey, you want to make some like trades that aren't like bad enough to make it obvious that we're trying to lose?"
That's exactly why. Why wouldn't he tell the whole NBA Luka's on the trade block if he was actually trying to be a good GM and have an actual future for the Mavericks? That's, for me, that's the biggest, this is kind of weird. Why didn't he tell the NBA, yeah, Luka's on the block, give me 5 firsts, right? No, he wants Anthony Davis, who he knows 100% he might get injured, right? We just lost Luka for a guy that's going to sit on the bench. The fan base is going to go crazy. They're already doing funerals for Luka. They were doing funerals on the street with coffins or whatever with his pictures.
There was SMU fans during their college basketball games saying, "Fire Nico."
Yeah, exactly.
It's everywhere.
So that's exactly, people are going crazy. Nico is getting harassed, right? He hired bodyguards or whatever apparently at his house. Yeah, he did.
Yeah, I saw this one Mavs fan who got caught on the dance cam saying "Fire Nico" mid-game.
So I don't know. It's just a theory, right? It's fun, right? But it's interesting.
Somehow it's like very outlandish, but as you break it down, it could be true.
Yeah, but Lucky, you should look into it seriously.
I'll look into it. I don't think I'm gonna buy it.
It's hard to buy. Even I did a lot of research on it, and even then I'm like, I don't know. We'll see. Like in 2-3 years.
Vegas is getting an NBA.
Oh
NBA
yeah,
team
for sure. Oh, 100%.
I wouldn't be shocked if casino owners are the one to do it.
The stuff I was hearing is it was going to be LeBron James to do it when he retires. Is that the NBA was going to get him with a large share of the next NBA team in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
So
imagine LeBron taking Luka and then owning the Mavericks.
That would be crazy. Another, I was thinking about it as you were saying, like making a trade that's like not bad enough to be noticeable. They low-key did another one by trading Quentin Grimes to the Sixers. They got Caleb Martin in return, also injury prone. He's injured right now, and they gave up a second.
Yeah,
I know. Lucky doesn't like Quentin Grimes.
Yeah,
but I think Quentin Grimes is a more valuable player than Caleb Martin. Yeah. That's like another one that's going to make their team slightly worse.
One of those like just perfect modern shooters off the bench. You know, has the exact same role as Malik Beasley, who's looked really good on the Pistons, and
he's young as well.
It pays off.
Yeah,
pays off in the playoffs.
But yeah, it is. Finn, it is
I do also want to say though, Christie has looked great on the Mavs so far. Man, yeah. Christie's looked very good.
Yeah, no, for sure. He's averaged maybe around 17 in the last since he's arrived there. He had some a 20-point game, a couple 15-point games. He's a really good player. He's got a bigger role for sure on the Mavericks. He might end up being the the best player in the trade. We don't know. We don't know. But yeah, definitely a shocker. Definitely a shocker of a trade for sure. For sure.
Yeah. We're not going to talk about the Luka trade as our most surprising trade because we'd all have the exact same answer. It'd be pretty boring. So we're going to exclude
and our biggest loser.
Yeah.
Biggest winner, biggest loser, biggest surprise, probably.
I will say though, I am not a fan of the Luka fit on the Lakers. Before we dive into the biggest winners and biggest losers, I don't have LA as a biggest winner at all. I think dropping their big man.
It depends on what you think is a winner.
Yeah, I mean their fit is not going to survive in the Western Conference.
They weren't surviving in the Western Conference either way. I don't think. I don't think.
I think they had more of a chance
with AD
than with Luka. I mean, think of the perimeter defense on the Lakers right now.
Yeah.
Luka can't defend on the perimeter.
He cannot at all.
Austin Reeves can't defend on the perimeter. Jared Vanderbilt is in and out of the lineup with injuries. Hachimura is probably going on the number 1, so he can't off-ball defend on the perimeter. I severely dislike.
Well, and they lost their rim protection as well.
Yeah.
And they tried to swing a trade for Mark Williams, and then
yeah.
So how injured is Mark Williams?
He just didn't pass his physical.
Yeah.
He didn't pass his physical. So it seemed like they just didn't want to do the trade. Like they take backseat.
It wasn't. Some people are saying it got vetoed. It didn't get vetoed.
No, it didn't get vetoed.
It's just the
he didn't pass the physical.
Exactly. The Hornets. Technically, it's on the Hornets' responsibility of kind of getting that through, and the way to say it is that the Hornets didn't complete their side of the trade, right? They gave a player that didn't pass his physical, so they had to veto it. But it wasn't Adam Silver saying, Mark Williams can't go to the Lakers like he did with Chris Paul. It's Mark Williams. Who cares?
If I was the Hornets getting Connect, Reddish, and 2 firsts for somebody who's injured all the time, I would have sent him injured as well.
That was a double.
I love the fit with Connect on the Hornets. I thought he was going number 6 to the Hornets anyways. They picked Salon, who's been a catastrophic bust so far.
I can't believe they picked him.
I literally
because we had a draft
in the
preview.
Shutter Sports mock draft. I took Connect with the 6th pick,
and Salon didn't even go in the freaking lottery.
I thought Connect would be a perfect fit next to LaMelo, and I think it was a huge blow for the Hornets to not get Mark Williams out of the lineup, and now they're pushing to dispute the rescinded trade.
They really don't want Mark Williams.
Mark Williams goes back to the. How would you feel if you were Mark Williams going back to the Hornets?
It's so awkward. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw.
Not
yesterday.
only did they trade you, but they're trying to dispute the rescinding of you going back to the team.
It's so awkward. I mean, I know for a fact that Neck went on the record saying to JJ Redick that he wasn't ready to play basketball basically for the Lakers. He has to still process what happened. It must be so awkward. You know that the GM said, yeah, this guy has to go. We want him, right?
Yeah.
And then you have to sit on that same bench next to him and next to that ownership. That's awkward. That is very awkward. Definitely an awkward situation. But one thing I must say is that if that trade went through, I think that the Hornets, that would have been a huge W for them.
Hornets are a deep team.
They are. They're very underrated. I think next year, if everyone's healthy, they could, make the playoffs with, maybe the play-in 6th seed if everything goes very well.
I think play-in team.
Play-in, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And even they wanted to trade
Williams
because I think they really like this guy, Moussa Diabate.
Yeah, he's looked really good.
Yeah, see his last game?
Yeah, 21-10.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Plus they got Nurk, who, obviously Nurkic isn't the best center around, but he's a veteran on a team that very much needs a veteran. They are an extremely young and inexperienced team with no real leader other than LaMelo, and I think getting a vet
LaMelo's not a leader. Don't act like LaMelo's a leader.
That's why I'm glad that Nurkic is going to the team, because they have no older players to guide this young team. I mean,
that's their biggest issue right now. Is I think for a couple of years now they've had a lot of talent, but they haven't had the right talent to actually start and make a core
culture. They don't have culture.
That's exactly why I thought Connect was going there with the 6, because he's the super senior. He's the same age as Mark Williams, who's been drafted 2 or 3 years, and I thought Connect was going to fit perfectly. But
the Hornets need to look at exactly what the Rockets did. Right? The Rockets were in the exact same spot.
Yeah.
Tons and tons of talent, but the players were squandering their talent, right? They were doing the wrong things. They weren't working out enough.
Yeah.
This is all, I'm skeptical about this, but there's a reason these players aren't developing, right? And On the Rockets, they go out and they sign Freddie VanVleet, which nobody is going to debate how much he works and how much he's going to put an effort in, and he's going to keep people accountable as well, right? And what the Hornets, I think, are sort of realizing now is that they need to have these old guys on their team to really bring the young guys through. But even still, I look at their team and I do see a lot of talent, but I still see a lot of unrealized talent, right? And until you get serious, especially defensively, I don't think this team's going to go very far.
Yeah, I love that the Rockets brought in Steven Adams for that short while as well. I think that's going to be a similar role that Nurkic is going to play on the Hornets. Hopefully the Hornets find their groove, and I think they have a very young roster and a good enough roster as far as potential goes to make a run for the playoffs in the near future. But yeah, this Dalton Connect trade would have helped them in my opinion.
Yeah, especially getting rid of Mark Williams. If you heard the rumors of how low effort.
Yeah, I've seen those.
And now he's coming back. It's going to be, like we were talking about it being awkward.
Even less effort.
Yeah, he's going to try
I don't know,
little.
I don't know how that big man rotation is going to go because Diabate can't shoot. Nurkic can't shoot.
Don't
Mark
forget
Williams
about Taj
can't
Gibson
shoot.
on there.
Taj
Gibson's still on that team.
No, he's not.
I think Mark
go.
Williams is gone. Like in the offseason, Mark Williams is gone. So I don't think it's something they have to worry about, especially this year because they're tanking. So
yeah, they're most likely gonna draft a Ford or someone that's tall. I think they might be.
They need some like wing defense. I think.
Some way.
Yeah.
They're not. There's no way they're drafting a guard, right? They single. I feel like they're drafting guards every single year.
Their forward depth is like Miles Bridges, and that's about it.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah,
it's bad.
I could see them drafting a number 4 and running Miller at the 2. Finally, I think Miller was born to play the 2.
Mm-hmm.
I can't.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
He's a 2 for sure. But I think the Hornets are a good lottery pick away from actually being solid. If they could get a good lottery guy that ends up being an all-star caliber player, a very good role player, I think they could actually be solid for the coming years for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
I think we should start moving into our winners, losers, surprises here. We've gone for like half an hour here on the Charlotte Hornets.
It's a big trade deadline.
Yeah, it is. What are we gonna do first, Finn?
Let's go for biggest winners, Finn. Who you got?
Let's do it. You guys are gonna hate me because you're gonna think I'm biased. But biggest winner, I have the Washington Wizards. I am a fan of the team. But you guys got to hear me out here.
No, I'm not gonna lie. I have the Wizards as well.
Yeah. Oh,
I was thinking of picking them like as like a half joke, half not joke. But I'm not gonna.
I love the Wizards deadline.
Thank you. Okay, first off, I should say the Wizards general manager, his name is Will Dawkins. He was in the front office with Oklahoma City Thunder and Sam Presti. And you guys all know how amazing of a rebuild OKC had these past few years. They're just incredibly dominant, looking to be incredibly dominant for the next decade. And I think we're making moves that are very, very similar to what the Thunder did when they were starting that rebuild. First thing that we did, we took on veterans that had bad contracts and received picks for them.
Right.
Chris Middleton, we got a first-round pick from that. Marcus Smart, we got a first-round pick from that. We got a first, I think, in that Reggie Jackson trade, and we only had to give up 4 seconds in Jared Butler.
Yeah.
I still don't know how we got a first for Jared Butler. But we're getting draft capital for these bad players, and that's something that OKC did, like with Al Horford. They took on a pick to take on Al Horford, and then they ended up trading Al Horford for more picks. That's kind of what happens when you're a bad team. Yeah. These veterans play really well, and they raise their value, and all of a sudden they go for picks.
Smart and Middleton are not scrubs. Like these guys can play, and they
I want to say the Wizards have like
30
picks in the next 7 years or something crazy like that.
We have a lot. And we also just traded the guys that we did have, like Kuzma, for example, Valanciunas, for young pieces. I really, really like A.J. Johnson. He's averaging 13 points per game and 92% from the free throw line in the G League right now. Really impressive for someone that athletic. I'm excited. I wish we didn't drop CD Sissoko, but other than that, I'm so happy with
I just have one question for you as a Wizards fan. How does it feel to be starting another rebuild?
I'm so happy. To preface this for the fans, I have been a Wizards fan since 2018, so I got to watch 1 year of John Wall.
This man's addicted to rebuilds.
I got to watch 1 year of John Wall, 2 or 3 years of like mid Bradley Beal teams, and now we're actually committing to the rebuild. We made it a fantastic trade getting rid of Beal, and the fact, even though we suck, I'm so happy to watch this team because I know we're making the right moves. Like every time I see a trade go through, I'm like, oh, yes. Like, I'm not upset at this. And I know in a couple years we're going to be great. And we have a ton of young, fun defensive guys. It's going to be a fun team.
Yeah, I think they took that step that the Hornets need to by acquiring older players with leadership qualities too. Not only getting draft capital, but Middleton and Smart are going to help these players develop so much. We're talking about 2 former champions, first of all, who've been around the block in both playoff environment and like winning regular season environment. So whether they're like 1-year rentals or an actually core piece of the team going forward, I think it benefits the Wizards greatly.
People forget we still have Malcolm Brogdon and Sadiq Bey. Like, we have a lot of veterans that will not only help the young guys, but we can trade for draft assets too.
Yeah, and you could probably get a first for Brogdon. Maybe. A contender that's really greedy, maybe. He's a good player off the bench, so, And people forget he's young. He's actually not that old. Brogdon, he's not that old, right?
He's Rookie of the Year in 2017.
Yeah, exactly. I always forget, but I think he might have been a 4-year guy in college.
Maybe, yeah.
3-year. But even then, he's young-ish, right?
He's 32.
He is?
Yeah, that's actually younger than I thought he was.
Oh yeah, I mean he looks way older, honestly. But yeah, the Wizards still have some good assets to trade away. But yeah, I think you kind of changed my mind on the Wizards, to be honest. I had them I didn't have them as losers. I just had them as meh. It's the Wizards. They were there. It's the Wizards.
Yeah. They didn't make any extreme trades. Yeah. So they're not something that instantly pops out in your mind. But when you look at this is the most important thing. The trades on the fringes are the biggest deals. When I look back, I was watching when I was younger. I used to watch all these Raptors videos, and I was like, "How the Raptors and Masai Ujiri became the best team in the league," and it was all these little tic tac trades, right? Getting a first round pick here and there that really build up once you make the right draft selections on the fringes and you make the right trades on the fringes. That's when your team really becomes elite. So I agree with you. I think they had a really great trade deadline, but it's going to take more moves like this, right? And it's going to take picking the right players. I think it's finally in a position where you're building towards the future instead of just waiting for the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm incredibly happy. I'm glad I changed your guys' minds. That wasn't my goal, but
you guys aren't a good basketball team. Let's not
sugarcoat this.
True.
Just you guys wait. Yeah, who else? What are the other winners other than Cam and I?
It's my turn to be biased. I absolutely am thrilled with the Toronto Raptors deadline. I thought the Ingram trade was fantastic. Traded 2 of our worst contracts away, especially the Bruce Brown one. I hated that the minute we picked him up. Kelly Olynyk, he was borderline my favorite Raptor of this year.
What?
Yeah, I love Kelly Olynyk. The first time I watched him live, and we were so injured. He was like the captain of the team, and it made a connection immediately.
Did you see him against Zach Edey?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. that was really hard to watch.
Yeah.
Zach Edey ate him alive.
But I knew he wasn't a long-term piece of the team, so giving him up for a former All-Star was fantastic. The first rounder from Indiana, it's not going to be much. Second rounder, not going to be much. So I think getting a former All-Star for that, Ingram's going to be instantly a core piece of the team. For that cheap, it finally makes the Siakam trade worth it, kind of.
Yeah.
No, for sure.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah.
But I love the return. Signed him for 3 years, $120 million, which not bad for a former All-Star, considering.
Yeah, I mean that's what he wanted, right?
That was the max I was going to be happy with paying, or be okay with paying him. With $40 million.
More than that, I would have been. I don't know, but I like that the contract is a 2+1 contract. That I like. If it wasn't.
Plus, Ingram wants to play in Toronto.
Well, it's a player option, no?
Yeah, it's a player option.
I think Masai and Bobby Webster have done great in the last few years of getting people who want to play in Toronto so we can sign them to long-term deals. We've gotten so many more Canadians on the roster, like Kelly Olynyk and RJ Barrett. So I think targeting players who have said they want to play in Toronto and are okay with the border crossing side of playing in Toronto is a good target, and Ingram was that exact player that we could have gone for. Now to the Davion Mitchell trade. I know many Raptors fans weren't thrilled with the return for Davion Mitchell.
They're stupid. But that's all I'm going to say.
I love this trade. It's so minimalistic, but I love it. Davion Mitchell, the exact archetype as Jamal Shed. Just a few years older, and I get it. He's one of the best perimeter defenders in the league. So getting PJ Tucker, a second-round pick in cash, isn't exactly what you want. But getting somebody who is not only a locker room veteran for, once again, a young team who's rebuilding, and somebody who won't log up minutes from their young core on the bench is exactly what you need when you're trading away a player who you have multiple archetypes of.
So are you talking about PJ Tucker?
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. Correct me on this. I think he is not reporting to the Raptors.
No, he's not.
He's not actually gonna be
getting
on
any rotational minutes.
But is he gonna be sitting on the bench? Because I've heard he's not.
Know.
Word for word, he's not reporting, whatever that means.
That could be like a Garrett Temple role, but like
maybe I don't know. Honestly, I don't know what that means because we haven't seen him on the bench, right?
Yeah.
As of yet. So
I think his career's done either way.
Oh no, it is.
Oh,
yeah.
So
that's
old.
my point. I don't
Yeah,
want
yeah.
Tucker
Oh,
logging
yeah,
up
no,
any
for
minutes from Mogbo, Shed.
Oh, he's not.
Battle.
He wasn't. Yeah, no.
I want those guys to improve. I want those guys to gain minutes in our rebuilding years so that they can be a productive part of our team going forward.
It is kind of sad, though, if he isn't reporting, because I really thought he was going to retire as a Raptor and have this whole big thing.
Yeah.
It would have been
like,
cool. Yeah.
You know, he's played these three stints in Toronto, where he's played 6 games as a 21-year-old,
Yeah, exactly.
half a season as a 26-year-old, and then now as he's like 39. But I thought that would be funny and a nice little end to the season thing to get fans to watch. But I don't know. I guess not if he's not reporting.
We'll see. I don't know. Do we even have a roster spot for him?
I have a tweet right here from Bobby Webster.
Yeah, go ahead.
He does not expect Tucker to report for the Raptors, and he will likely hit the buyout market. So
Yeah,
he won't even
exactly.
be on the team.
Yeah,
he won't
okay.
have a roster spot.
So, I mean, dropping one of our players that repeat archetypes with bench players on our roster, I think getting a second, getting cash considerations to sign Ingram, which was an awesome return.
To sign
Yeah,
Battle.
to sign Battle as well. And getting $2.5 million from the Wiseman trade.
Yeah. That was also
Just
probably for
trading a conditional, what was it, top 55 55 protected second round pick.
It wasn't even a
Sure.
real. It wasn't even a real pick
Sure.
at that point.
If we're a top 6 team in the league, you can keep the second round pick.
Yeah.
But yeah, releasing Wiseman was perfect. He's out for the rest of the season. Getting $2.5
I would want to
million
keep
from his
Wiseman.
contract. Really?
Yeah. I mean, when you can get a second-round pick for basically the minimum you're going to pay for a guy, and he's still 23, and he's, not shown a lot. He's shown he can be a backup big at least, right? And then that's honestly what the Raptors need the most. You don't think so?
Does his contract
On the
go through
Pistons,
this year?
he was good on the Pistons.
I feel like
He
could
does
be a
have an
backup
Achilles
big.
tear right now, so when he
Yeah.
comes
Yeah,
back
does
from
his
that, it's
if
scary.
his contract goes through this year, I could see keeping him.
And he's expensive for
No,
what
yeah.
he does.
But
He's
like,
not. He's a $3 million guy. It was $12 million.
That's a lot for somebody who
re-signed.
barely plays any minutes.
$3 million?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you guys know how the cap's gonna go up, right?
Yeah.
$3
Bro,
million is nothing.
I
So he's
prefer
gonna
giving.
You're playing
asking
Brandon
for
Ingram
more.
like 8 times that.
Yeah, but Brandon
Not
Ingram
8 times that.
also produces
and
more than 8
Ingram's
times that.
Ingram's 8 times better
Yeah,
than
exactly.
More than 8
than
times.
James Wiseman.
For a backup big, I'd gladly pay $3 million.
No, hey,
I'll keep Bruno Fernando
No,
on dirt
no,
cheap.
No way.
No, he's not even there anymore. I prefer having the new guy. What's his name? Robinson or Orlando Robinson.
Orlando Robinson.
I prefer.
yeah.
He's playing. He's not.
Yeah.
I prefer having him for nothing. He's on the two-way.
But it's the difference between 26-year-old Orlando Robinson
Sure.
versus a 23-year-old former second overall pick.
But that also means we aren't getting. We're not giving a contract to Jamison Battle, who's been playing awesome.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a lot of what ifs, whatever. Wiseman, and he's a what if on its own, right? So
Yeah.
it's like whatever. I get I get your thinking of what if he actually gets into this service.
The
of the
Raptors
guy.
need a backup big.
They
do.
literally
we
have
do.
no big
Wiseman
rotation.
can't defend.
Yeah, no, he can't. He's
There's no lateral quickness.
Bad
no
shooter.
rim protecting somehow.
Yeah.
I mean,
Bad shooter as well.
he sets screens. I'm not paying $3 million for a screen setter. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Orlando could do that. For cheap.
I think you're
Orlando
underselling him.
Robinson hype on the NBA podcast is
I don't know.
actually crazy.
I'm happy with $3 million for a top 55 second round pick.
Yeah, for sure.
I am for sure. 100%.
Yeah, I think Raptors nailed maybe not the returns for every 3 of the trades, but I think they nailed the rotational fit with every single piece that they got back. I think each piece individually helps them tremendously.
Yeah, I think it makes the Siakam trade look a bit better.
Yeah.
Right. It wasn't looking that good.
We literally got essentially
Yeah.
2 first-round picks and Brandon Ingram.
Yeah.
For
which
Pascal
is
Siakam.
good. Which is
and Kelly Olynyk in a second.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
It's looking back. It's the trade actually makes sense. A year ago, I don't know if I could say that.
I still don't think it makes sense.
I mean, he had to go. There was no way he would.
Masai did him a favor to send him to a team that he would fit well with.
Yeah.
I feel like that's exactly what happened. I think they had better offers on the table.
Yeah.
But they wanted to do a goodbye Pascal, and I understand that. But winning this trade doesn't mean they won the last one.
True. I mean, we don't even know if he won this one, right?
Yeah.
Is Ingram even gonna play? He hasn't played more than 60 games.
I mean,
I don't think he's playing this year.
Ever.
Not playing this year.
So,
I don't mind him sitting out for the rest of the season.
I think he is
Keep
playing
tanking our
soon.
pick.
In
Getting a
2 weeks.
lottery pick with this roster is fantastic. If we keep trending lower and keeping our pick in top 5 odds, that would be amazing.
So, one question for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
What do we think about? So sure, he got $40 million a year, but now we have basically our whole starting 5 making bank.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not even making the playoffs. We're not making the play-in. Are we even tanking at this point? I don't even know. I don't know if it's talent or we're tanking, right?
I think we're done tanking this year. We're making our
hope
top
so.
5 pick
Because we're going to be in the apron.
We're making our top 5 pick.
I think we're just out
Or
of the
just out, right? So maybe at the end of some of the contracts, we'll actually get in since how
getting the
contracts work.
cash from Wiseman and Quickly
saved us, I think.
saved us from the apron.
Next
Thank
year,
God.
this Raptors team's a playoff team. I'm counting it.
I hope so. Oh my God, I hope, because if not, we're
have to be.
screwed.
They have to.
We're
There's no
screwed.
way.
Yeah.
We have 4 people who are capable of averaging 20 a game.
Yeah.
I think there's a big problem though with the pecking order because so Quickly I think is going to have to take a step back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Scotty's going to have to take a step back and
I don't
really
think
let
so.
RJ and BI. I think Scotty wants to be a distributor. I really think Scotty doesn't want to be a scorer.
I think he's like a Ben Simmons. Well, obviously not Ben Simmons, but
I think
he's that type of player.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
Draymond.
if you look at him in all
yeah.
these games, like if you look at Scotty Barnes, he does not want to stand up to the moment. Which is like you see RJ, he's taking that ball in the final minute every single time over Scotty. And that's honestly one of my biggest faults with Scotty is that he doesn't want to be that big star. But if he doesn't want to be it, I don't think we force him to be that. Like I think honestly that's what happened with Ben Simmons is that everybody wanted to peg him into that hole of being a star, of being who was
the
dominant.
Next LeBron.
Yeah. And he just wasn't that. And it kind of broke him mentally. Scotty, I think, is better than... I had this conversation with Finn, actually. I think Scotty is better, a better player than Ben Simmons ever was.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Finn had
Ben Simmons made all NBA teams.
And that's a fair
All-Star game.
point.
Fair argument.
Sure.
I don't agree, and I'm as the non-Raptors fan here. I feel like
And
I
again,
can let you
Ben
guys
Simmons on all NBA teams competing with guards had way more versatile stats with points, rebounds, and assists compared to all the guards he was competing against. So I mean, I could see how Simmons would make a guards all NBA over Barnes making a forwards all NBA because Barnes' stats don't really stand out compared to other forwards in the NBA.
And he was on good teams. Like
Yeah.
the Raptors just aren't good right now. And so yeah, I think they have to figure out their pecking order because not everybody's gonna be able to average 20 points per game.
Yeah, I know me and Julien were talking outside the studio about Quickly maybe being traded.
Oh wow.
And Barnes officially running the point guard.
Because you also like we have those guys in the starting lineup. We also have Grady off the bench, right?
Yep.
Who's going to be, trying to score a lot of points.
Ochai's been a great contributor as well.
Ochai's been a great we have a lot of guys and not a lot of points to go around, and we have to make sure guys are happy with their roles and don't grow a mean face on. But I think it's possible. It's going to be interesting to see how we divvy it up, and then exactly what you said, Julien. How does this team even compete as it is right now? Because
I don't know.
May I?
Yeah, go ahead. Go
I
ahead.
don't. I think no. I think it's
Go ahead.
looking at the team from an unbiased perspective. You guys have a lot of dudes who are mediocre.
Mid.
I think Brandon Ingram has probably the potential to be an all-star. Like he has been an all-star before. He was most improved player. But I don't think the Raptors are trading for him so they can get Brandon Ingram and make this push for the playoffs. Right. I think they're still looking to tank. But one thing, I saw a tweet from my GOAT, Kenny Beecham, and he said Masai loves to buy low. And that is, I had no idea what the trade meant until I saw that tweet. And then I realized, Brandon Ingram's his value is like it was rock bottom before this trade. His contract was expiring.
Pelicans wanted him out, going the Trey Murphy route, and
we gave up
low.
basically the 26th overall or the 22nd overall pick for Brandon Ingram. In the 2026
and two
draft.
older players.
Exactly.
But those are salary fodder.
Oh yeah.
And now they have Brandon Ingram on their team. Brandon Ingram's going to get healthy, hopefully, and play his way up. Yeah, you guys are knocking on wood. He's going to play his way back into having a lot of value, especially he's on a pretty solid contract for a player like himself. And then I think the Raptors are going to move him for more young assets and draft picks. And I think that's the long-term goal for Masai.
I don't know if we trade Ingram for more young prospects.
I think.
Well, if you guys are trying to tank, which I believe the Raptors are doing.
This is what I think. I think Scotty's talking to Masai and saying, "I want to compete." Because it's going to be my 5th year. It's going to be my 5th year in the league, and we haven't competed. We've competed 1 year. He's like, I want to compete or else I'm gone. I think is what Scotty's saying.
That's because Scotty joined the team as you guys were still kind of a playoff.
I'm not blaming Scotty. I'm saying Masai's hearing that and saying, shit, we have to compete next year.
Okay, what can we get with this bundle that I'm about to say? Emmanuel Quickley, Jacoby Walter, Ochai Agbaji. All three of them are tradable on this roster. All of them hold a solid amount of value. What all-star level do you think we can get with those three?
I don't think if you're giving up draft capital, you can get someone all-star. Yeah. I think just those three players. I think DeAndre Hunter, someone else who went on this deadline. I think he's probably a good return.
DeAndre Hunter.
I hope so.
DeAndre Hunter averages 20 points per game off the bench.
Yeah, we even traded Karis LeVert and 2 picks. We're trading
you have to think about
pick swaps.
Contracts as well.
2 pick swaps.
2 pick swaps.
Not even anything. Yeah, it was 3 seconds and 2 pick swaps.
I think we can aim for a legitimate all-star if we trade those.
I don't know. I think we could probably get not like an all-star, but a close, like a guy like
Brandon Ingram.
And also what age would you go for? Would you go for someone like Kyrie?
No, I do not want Kyrie around the Raptors at all.
No, but like a player of that age and that play style.
No, I would go for a guy. I would go for a guy around the age of Ingram, not in his 30s, right? But not under 25.
Yeah,
that could make sense. But I think the move here for the Raptors going forward is they have to assess who is willing to take their ego aside, right, and turn down their usage, because someone is gonna have to.
Yeah.
Probably 2 people are gonna have to.
I think Grady's one of them. I think Grady goes to a pure shooter. I think his role decreases with Ingram on this team.
He's gonna be 6,
and I think he's okay with that.
Yeah, and I think he would be a better 6-man than on the starting lineup.
2 years later, I don't think Jacoby Walter has that attitude of decreasing his role, from what I've seen. That's why I added him into the deal, because he's still got solid potential.
Yeah.
He's looked very, very good on a rebuilding team and could have a solid role somewhere else. So I feel like his trade value is still fairly high, but if we keep him around longer and don't give him the amount of touches he needs to get better, I can't see him holding that value.
I don't think he has that much value.
Really?
Yeah. Like, we picked him, was it the 18th?
19.
18th, 19. And he hasn't exploded, right? And so I think everybody, like, with the later draft picks, you take your guy and then you see if he grows or falls in value, right? But if he stays in value, which I think he has, I think he's proven that he can be a hustle guy at certain points. I think can hit a shot when you need to. But there's a lot of guys around the league who can do that. Mm-hmm. And if he hasn't exceeded his expectations, nobody's going to, like, give a first-round pick to just take your guy. They want their guy. They want the pick so they can take their guy, right?
He's the type of guy you throw in a package and be like, hey, here's a young player that could,
that's what the bundle. Yeah, that's why.
I think they're gonna have to trade someone at some point, because there's too many. We have a lot of this year. I think the Raptors in the draft, I think we drafted well in the second round.
Yeah.
First round, Jacoby, he's had some good games, but I'm not sold on him, to be honest. Second round wise, and even with with the Jameson Battle and the got undrafted, right, we picked him up. Even with Battle, we hit big time. Mm-hmm. So I think in the next 4 years, when those guys are up for contract, right, I think we're gonna have to pay someone in some of those guys, because they're good. We have good players.
But I don't think they've proven that they can.
No, but we need a bit of money, right? Mm-hmm. Right now we do not have any leverage. Mm-hmm. We do if we go in the first and second apron, but we can't be doing that if we're not competing for the playoffs, right? So we're in a sticky situation where either we're trading RJ or IQ, or we just stick with the squad, and then we're gonna lose at some point a lot of depth.
I think we stick with our squad, see what we're doing next year, and then if we are a playoff contending team, if we do surprise, if Scotty takes a step, or if one of our young guys takes a step, then we reevaluate ourselves, right? Yeah. I think either way we reevaluate ourselves, but we've made our moves, and we're gonna see how we are next year. And then
next year is huge.
Yeah. Going into next year, I cannot see this team missing the playoffs.
Knock on wood. I think we should move on.
Yeah, sorry about sticking that, Finn.
It's fine. This might be controversial. I'm not sure. I have the Golden State Warriors as winners with the Jimmy Butler trade, and hear me out. I know it's a hot take. Hear me out because of the contract, right? Also, his contract is atrocious, sure. But I think the Warriors, Curry is probably in his final years of his career. At this point, he's not being as consistent as he's been ever, right? He's still Curry, right? He's still an all-star. He could still go off in a game. He could still carry a team in the playoffs if he really gets hot. But I think the Warriors lack that culture guy, I guess. I find that the Warriors recently, they lost that championship culture. They lost a lot of their key pieces from that 2020, 21, 22, right? Championship run, and getting Jimmy Butler back. Getting Jimmy Butler is going to be huge for them because he's a culture guy. He's going to get those young players playing well. He's just a good culture guy to get your team going and get their mojo back. Even though his production isn't as good as when he was on the Heat, he's probably having his worst season since his years in Chicago, probably, right, and the Heat as well. But I think it's gonna help them short term. Long term, it's horrible. The contract is,
this Warriors team is about to blow up.
It is. It is.
My goodness.
But I think that just out of respect for Curry and what he's done,
I think Butler does fit the model.
He does.
He
really does. And I think that if we get a playoff Jimmy Butler, a vintage playoff Jimmy Butler this year in the playoffs, if they do make the playoffs, which I hope they will, because if not, the trade is going to look pretty stupid. I think the Warriors could actually, I'm not saying they're going to win. I think they could have a run that could be fun to watch as a fan. So for that reason alone, I'd say they're winners because they had to do something for Curry, because people were already saying, oh, is he going to team up with someone? Is he? So they just had to. So for that sense, they're not winners in the long run at all. But I like the trade as a fan to keep the Warriors relevant and watchable, which they weren't really this season.
Yeah. I think
anyone please be against me because I know it's a very, very hot take.
I'm with you.
Yeah,
I'm very with you. I think the Warriors needed to do something. They've said in press conferences that they're like, we're just gonna we're not gonna sacrifice the young guys. We're just gonna they kind of wanted Curry to ride into the sunset, but I think we all know Steph Curry wants to win games, and when you have a player like him, you have a top 15 player of all time around. You don't just let him ride into the sunset. I know he's been inconsistent this year, but in the 2 games that Jimmy Butler's been on the team and the 2 games that Curry's had any help, he's been fantastic. So I think Curry just needed help, and he's going to be back. Anyways, when you have a player of his caliber, you don't just let him ride into the sunset. You have to at least try to get some help.
Yeah,
and
you have to juice his talent out, I guess, yeah.
I think Vucevic would have probably been another player they could have gone for because really they only gave up Wiggins and that's it. Schroeder was having a terrible season with the Warriors. Kyle Anderson, whatever. You can get someone else like Kyle Anderson.
They gave up their pick this year as well.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I feel like if they're going for a playoff run, they don't really need the pick for this year. I'm glad they kept draft capital in 2 to 3 years to come. But I like the fit of Butler on the Golden State Warriors. But yeah, like I said, this team is going to blow up into smithereens.
Here's why I don't like it.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think they're short. I think they're short some players here. I think they're
missing some
pieces. You look at it and you see, oh yeah, it's Curry, it's Jimmy Butler. I think this team would be amazing in 2010. In 2010, if these guys are the same skill level they are in 2010 with how the league was with the level of parity in 2010, I think this team is amazing. But you look at it now,
the West.
And teams like the Raptors have a better bench right now than the Warriors.
By far.
Right? And that's a problem if you're the Warriors.
Well, the Warriors were I would say one of the deepest teams in the league before the trade deadline, and they only gave up 3 guys.
3 guys is your whole bench.
They got Pajemski, they got Kuminga,
They have Moody.
I'm not a fan of Moody.
That one, there's
Trace Jackson Davis.
Trace.
Okay.
I'm not a fan of Trace Jackson Davis.
No, but there's this new big man. White guy. What's his name?
Oh my God.
Austin Vos.
No, Quentin Post.
Post.
Yeah,
I like
Post.
Whoa.
What a last name.
Quentin Post.
He's hooping.
Terrible defender.
He's shooting
but
like
playing
40% from 3.
Yeah, he's hooping. But we're gonna see. We're gonna see.
I think they're short a couple players here,
I
and
think so as well.
I
They're
think
not
they
going to
traded.
contend in any way.
No, and you are right. Like from the point of view of the fans, and from the point of view that they're going to be able to keep Curry for basically his entire career at this point, I think it's a good deal. But for the health of the team, it's not a good deal at all. Because, look, you're kicking the can down the road, and this team's not going to win a championship. Like, I'll be honest, this team's not winning a championship this year or in the future.
Jimmy,
in the future.
If Jimmy actually turns up, Jimmy actually went far in the playoffs with probably less talented teams. He has Curry beside him. Did he ever play with a Curry?
Played with Tyler Hero.
But is Jimmy's
That's not Curry.
Is Jimmy the same
player.
Jimmy?
We'll see. That's the thing. But
I
he
don't think
always
Jimmy's the same Jimmy.
turns up in the often
Yeah.
he turns up in
That's
the
the
playoffs.
question. If he can stay healthy.
It's a big what if.
It's
a
been
big
his
what if.
thing for the last 5 years.
Yeah, he does that.
bring an 8 seed to the finals.
Exactly. So hey, we'll see. And he has Curry now beside him. So we never know. It's the West though. So it's a bit hard.
The one problem with the Heat is that they're missing arguably their best player this season with Kyle Lowry. Like, I don't think they're going to be able to keep those backup point guard minutes. I'm joking. No, that's what I'm saying. He's missing. He's not on the team anymore.
Oh, I thought you said he was injured or something.
No. He's like not on the team anymore.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was jokes.
Lucky, who was your winner? I don't know if we got into it.
Let me grab my computer.
We
can hear
half
you.
an hour talking about the Raptors, by the way.
That's okay.
Who cares? That's fun.
Could spend an hour.
Toronto-based podcast.
Yeah. Gotta stay homegrown.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, sorry. So yeah, my winner was the Cavaliers. I think it was a very, very savvy trade to get a 19-point per game scorer for literally nothing. They've really helped their bench out right now. They pick swaps, which I think, the difference between the Hawks, which for some reason very frustratingly refuse to tank every single season. It's like, what are you doing if you're the Hawks? The difference between the Hawks and the Cavs is never going to be like the Cavs are going to be good for a long, long time here, guys. The swaps are never going to go through, and it's 3 second-round picks to get a 19-point per game small forward. They needed small forward. They needed a small forward. He can run the bench for them. He rounds out their starting 5. He can run the bench for them when their starters go out as just a pure scorer. And it was such a good trade. Just not even for the future, just the future of the Cavaliers team. I think they are going to be good for a long time. I think the Cavaliers, this is not even a hot take because they're by far the 1 seed in the East. I think they're the best team in the East. I think they're going to the finals. And I think this trade puts them over the top.
I agree with that. I think conference finals at least. Yeah, I've been saying the Cavs were good before they made this trade.
Yeah,
I hope so. I don't know. The Cavs are one of those teams where it's like, are they contenders or pretenders?
Yeah.
I feel like every single year they're kind of like I think OKC's legit now, but I've had that asterisk on them for a minute now.
The Cavs,
they don't have one guy.
The Cavs this year, with DeAndre Hunter now, are just a better version of the Dallas Mavericks last year. They have the 2 bigs. No, listen to me. Hold on. Don't leave me now. They're a better version than the Mavericks, okay? They're 2 twin towers, way better than the twin towers in Dallas. Can we agree?
Yeah.
Can we agree?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Darius Garland, I think, is equal, if not better, than Kyrie Irving.
Okay.
This year?
Stay with me now.
Sure, this year. Sure.
This year, stay with me now.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure, they're dropping from Luka to Donovan Mitchell, right?
Yeah.
Just a little bit. Just a tiny bit.
Just a bit.
Just a tiny bit. I think their strength in the front court and now with their bench and their point guard make up the difference for Luka Doncic. And I think this is a better team than the Mavericks team that went to the finals.
Do you think they can spread the floor enough to be a championship-winning team?
With DeAndre Hunter now, I think they can.
With Mobley and Allen at the same time.
Yes. I don't think that's a problem.
No, they figure it out.
They have a very, we talk about modern offense,
but
they have
enough
the
to go
the only
enough
modern
to win
offense in the entire NBA.
Though.
I think so. I definitely think so. I disagree with Lucky. I don't think they don't play anything like the Mavericks, but I can see what you're.
You understand what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
Yeah, no, it's a good point.
They don't play anything like the Mavericks though. Their offense is very modern, and they use a lot of like elbow play. Like their dunker spot isn't just the dunker spot. Mobley and Allen are able to play around the elbows and like around the top of the paint, which works very well for them. And now, like you said, Lucky, they have DeAndre Hunter. They can space the floor even better than they were. Karis LeVert doesn't really have value as a player anymore. No. Niang's whatever. Yeah, I think they're
Niang was having a very good season though.
Yeah,
he was lights out from the three for sure.
But I think you'd rather
Niang's
have
just
Hunter
not. I just don't think Niang's that dynamic. Like, sure, he can shoot. He's very immobile.
And he's one-dimensional. Big time. He's not a good defender. They got back probably a better shooter in Hunter. Well, this season is a better shooter.
Yeah.
Historically, maybe not.
Better creator,
better defender. He's an athletic,
fantastic defender. DeAndre.
Very, very.
DeAndre Hunter's been one of the most steadily improving players in the NBA.
Yeah.
He hasn't broken out any of these years in Atlanta, but he's like.
I think he's broken out this year.
Since being drafted, I think he's just steadily grown as a player.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
If you look at his points per game averages, just about every year it's gone up. He's a really good player.
So the Cavs are my biggest winner, and my biggest loser are the Hawks. Not only because of that trade. I think that was a horrible trade for them because they gave up one of their most impactful players. They also just refuse to tank. And what are they doing right now? Right? They're the 9 seed right now, I think, in the Eastern Conference. Where are they? They're the 8 seed right now. They're 2 games under 500, and they're just content to be the 8th seed every single season with Trae Young. I don't get it. I don't get it at all because this team's. It's very similar for the same reasons as the Warriors, right? They're not gonna win a championship this year, and for some reason they're not gonna blow it up. It really, really frustrates me. And they continue to make bad trades as well. It's not only the fact that they haven't blown it up; it's the fact that they also made a horrible, horrible trade giving away DeAndre Hunter.
Mm-hmm. I actually had the Hawks as my losers too, because, like you said, they don't want to tank. I think what they're doing by trading away DeAndre Hunter and Bogdanovic as well, because they lost 2 rotation players there, is they've forced themselves into a tank.
But they're not.
No, but hear me out.
Yeah.
Trae Young's future has been reported to be quote-unquote murky. Great word, murky, by the way. I've never used that, but it's a great word.
I that's like one of those words that you just hear if you're only on NBA Twitter, and it pisses me off so much. Like it's such a 2020s
it
NBA.
Describes it perfectly.
It's such a but it's such a 2020s NBA to hear the word murky surrounding a player who's been with the team for 7 years. You know what I mean? Like
but it's murky. Their future is murky.
I agree.
Trae Young has made it very obvious for years now that he wants to win. And the Hawks have now consistently, like a couple years in a row now, made trades to just like make their team slightly worse. And now Trae Young wants to win. He's not going to stay around for a rebuild. I think he's made that very obvious to the team. So making these trades and making their team, they're going to be worse. I think Trae Young is inevitably gone, probably this offseason. And I think the reason, I think that was all kind of easy to understand for me at least. But I think the thing that makes them the losers for me is because they didn't get anything back for Hunter or Bogdanovic that would really help start that rebuild. You know what I mean? Like Trae Young's obviously going to get them draft assets and stuff, but they didn't get anything. They got 2 pick swaps for DeAndre Hunter,
which aren't going to go through.
Nope.
And they got 3 seconds for Bogdan Bogdanovic, and I don't think that's enough. If they're probably going making these trades,
they got 6 seconds for the 2 guys.
Yeah,
making these trades, they're assuming we're going to go into a rebuild soon. And they should have realized that they needed to get more than what they got.
The best example is they've been keeping Capella for every single year. They're like, oh, I feel like he's always like, they're like, oh yeah, we want to trade him. They never trade him. When is this guy gonna get traded? Same thing with
John Collins.
But no, exactly. It's too late. They wait too long. Kind of like Masai in a way, right? You wait way too long, you lose value, and then they're worth nothing. Capella's not worth, maybe to the Lakers he's worth something, right? Because they need a center, but he's not worth not much anymore. So it's like, I don't know. They're in that kind of they're in that gray zone. They're in that no man's land, like I like to call it. And I don't know what they're doing. Seriously, they got some good talent. Dyson Daniels,
I love Onyeka.
Onyeku, I love him as well. Jalen Johnson, I love. I've been drafting him super early in my fantasy every single year, and he's a stud. He's injured, sadly, this year. And Rizaché has been playing, started off slow, but he's slowly, he picked it back up. He got injured and then came back a bit better, right? We'll see what he turns into. But, Trae Young, most likely, I think he has to leave. Or if not, they have to tank and they have to draft well, and maybe he will stay.
He doesn't want to stay around for a tank.
Yeah,
I think that's been made so obvious now.
Yeah, for sure.
I do think my biggest loser is in the exact same realm as the Atlanta Hawks are right now, in like no man's land. I don't know what angle they're going to take, but the Chicago Bulls have sucked for so many years. Since Lonzo went down and they lost that number 1 pick and went outside the number 1 overall in the East and went outside the playoffs in the same year, they've been in no man's land. This is their first trade they've made. The Giddey Caruso one, which not getting a first for Caruso is awful. But that Giddey trade was the first Chicago Bulls trade they made in about 3 years. And this one for the De'Aaron Fox, Zach LaVine 3-team trade, their return for Zach LaVine was atrocious.
I don't think he had any value in the first place, and that's the only reason I didn't.
Value.
He did have value. You could have gotten 2 firsts at least. Yes,
his contract.
you could have.
His contract.
No.
His contract is horrible. I'm sorry.
No.
Not a good defender. Like pure scorer, bad contract.
But come on, Kevin Huerter and Zach Collins.
Yeah, that's funny.
What are they gonna do for your rebuild? Not trading Vucevic for anything. Trey Jones has looked great. I love Trey Jones as a player, but Zach Collins is useless in the modern NBA. Kevin Huerter, he's not gonna.
But even getting Trey Jones for me is kind of weird because they already have Kobe White.
You got Lonzo.
They have the Somu. They have
Lonzo.
Lonzo. They have so
Who
many.
they just re-signed.
They have so many good guards. So why,
Giddey's basically a guard.
Who?
Giddey's basically a guard.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. It's kind of weird, and
it's a strange team. I don't know what they're doing. I had them as the biggest losers last year simply based on they didn't make a move, and the move they finally made and the multiple moves they finally made have been dog water. They. I love the return for De'Aaron Fox going to the Kings. Zach LaVine, Sissoko, which they flipped to the Wizards, but 3 first-round picks, awesome.
Yeah.
That team not only stays a playoff team this year, I believe, but they get 3 first-round picks, which is awesome. And Zach LaVine gets to play with DeMar. You're rebuilding the Bulls on the Kings, and they're probably going to do better than the Bulls ever did. They brought in JV, who has chemistry with both Sabonis and DeRozan. I think this Kings team looks good, and the Spurs, obviously, I didn't have them on my sheet as biggest winners, but I do think they're up there because the Fox fit in San Antonio is awesome. Chris Paul is going to come off the bench. He doesn't have to have that big of a role anymore, but he still has like the best leadership qualities in the entire NBA. The Chicago Bulls, I don't know what in the world they are doing. They have been torrentially 11th place outside the play-in for 5 years.
Always the 7th pick, man. They're always the 7th pick.
And they never do crap with it.
No, true. For the record, in the 3-team trade with Levine and De'Aaron Fox and all of that, the Bulls actually got back a first-round pick, but it was basically their pick that they had at some point.
Top 10 protected.
Exactly, but it's not.
It was top 10 protected.
It's not protected now, though. There's no protections on it anymore.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it is what it is. Still a bad return. And for the Kings, I like Zach LaVine, but more because I like that Malik Monk is now gonna be starting. That's for me is the biggest win for
I
the
love
Kings.
the fit of Zach LaVine in Sacramento.
Because Malik Monk, I haven't watched much Kings basketball this year, but I know that he ran the point guard a bit with.
Yeah, he has.
And he's played amazingly. I just have to look on my phone, on my fantasy, and I'm seeing, okay, Malik Monk, 40 fantasy points? Yeah, okay, he's playing well. So I think he could be a serviceable, even though I don't think he ever really was a point guard in his career.
No, he's always been a 2.
But I think at the 1, he's actually been impressive. And even, with a guy like DeRozan on the 4, Levine, Sabonis.
Yeah.
Sabonis is basically,
Keegan Murray.
Good. There's good passers all around on the starting lineup, so he doesn't,
can still spread the floor for
Exactly,
DeMar, who
exactly,
can't at a high enough level.
Yeah,
But
so it's like
Zach LaVine spreads the floor. Malik Monk, obviously. Keegan Murray, one of the best stretch fours in the league. Domas has been working on it this year. He's shooting very consistently, not at a high clip or anything, but he can knock it down. I think this Kings team makes the playoffs this year. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, but this is what I'm saying. They're worse, and
they're worse.
They basically just they were so good. They were like the story of 2022, basically this Kings team. And 2 years later, they're the Bulls with a better center. And that's what you have to realize.
No, they're the Bulls with a better center and added 3 first-round picks.
Yeah,
that's true. The first-round picks are huge.
Team.
Yeah. I think honestly, Sabonis is gonna go pretty soon. I think.
I think they're gonna try for a few more years.
Yeah, they have
Yeah,
to.
I think
at least give it a go.
I think they have a decent enough core. I know DeRozan's probably coming back to the Raps for his final year, whenever that is.
Well,
He's made that clear.
Yeah.
So DeMar won't be there for long. But I mean, Zach LaVine's in his prime. Sure, he's had injuries, but he's still going to compete at a high level.
Oh, he was
Malik
hooping.
Monk
He was hooping
as
before
well.
the trade. Yeah.
Keegan Murray, young, very good potential. Always going to have a role in the NBA. So I don't see Sabonis wanting to leave. I don't see him requesting a trade. It depends whether a team like a contender wants to pay him more than Sacramento does.
Yeah, and quickly, if I quickly want to talk about the Spurs going with the Aaron Fox trade. I know it was pretty obvious that D Fox was going somewhere, right?
Yeah.
It came out a bit before that he was probably going to the Spurs. I was still surprised with him going there because I didn't have the feeling that the Spurs were ready, because trading for the Aaron Fox is kind of like, okay, we're ready to compete, basically, right? And I found that weird because that means they're taking off minutes from.
They have Chris Paul and Stephon Castle.
Exactly, but they're taking off minutes from both of them, right?
Yeah.
And I don't like taking off minutes from Castle because I think
Castle's going to start playing the 2 eventually.
I hope so. I really hope so because he's a good player. I really think he could be he could be Wemby's guy for sure.
I think the Spurs team is in the same range that the Raptors are. I think they made a big trade this year for an all-star level player to compete next year. I don't think they're going to do much in the rest of this season.
Where are they seated right now?
They're bottom 3 in the West, I think.
Spurs are
No,
are they higher?
No, they're playing. They're playing.
Yeah.
Crap.
They're ahead of the Warriors and the Suns.
They're playing well.
They're ahead of the Warriors and Suns.
Yeah,
Okay.
well.
I think
I still don't. I still think they're aiming for next year, kind of like the Raptors are.
It'd be
but-
good. It'd be
for
good
the
to
next
have.
decade.
It'd be good to have them in the play-in just for
Oh
experience.
no, they're not.
Yeah.
I lied.
They are the 12th seed, but the standings are so close right now around the play-in area.
Yeah, so
they can jump up and down.
It'd be good, honestly, because they have Wemby. You don't need anyone else.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you
Yeah.
don't. Seriously.
Yeah.
And it'd be cool to see them in the playoffs. See Wemby in the playoffs. The Aaron Fox. Just get the young guys
It'd be
some
cool.
experience. It'd be cool, and I think they need that.
Wemby
experience
against
for sure.
Chet, that would be a great matchup in the playoffs.
That would be fire. That would be interesting for sure. But
Shea against De'Aaron Fox, that would be cool. Yeah, this Spurs team's so much fun.
Yeah, I like the trade for sure. It's a good fit, and it's already proven to be a good fit. It was still surprising to me that they actually went through with it. But I'm happy. I'm happy, honestly. As long as Castle doesn't get impacted too much and he actually gets his minutes, I like the trade. But still surprising for me, for sure.
I'm impressed the Spurs managed to keep all their young guys in the trade,
and not
Sell,
trade Castle.
Sohan, Castle. They all stayed.
Keldon Johnson.
Yeah, I mean he's not young anymore. He's
Sell.
like 28.
But he's a good player. Could have traded him.
Yeah, I think this gives them the opportunity to kind of let them all play and sort of the Spurs will figure out in a couple of years like which of these guys is actually going to be part of our core in the future and which of them is probably not so valuable anymore. I think it's looking to be Castle and Vassell that stay. But the fact that they kept all those guys and got De'Aaron Fox, even if the fit isn't great right now, like they still at least have the chance to have a bunch of pieces in their core future. Yeah. And also if you have the chance to trade for De'Aaron Fox,
I think
you got him for the next decade now.
I do think Vassell is going to be the first one out. I do.
Really?
I think so.
Over Johnson?
I love Vassell.
Johnson, they're not positionally, they're not the same. Johnson's a forward and Vassell's a guard.
Yeah.
I think they might, because they just traded for De'Aaron Fox, right?
I think Vassell can run the 3 though.
Could he? How tall is he?
He's
tall
for them right now.
With
right now
on your lineup, I think.
Their starting lineup has been Stephon Castle, Chris Paul, Devin Vassell.
I think he's like 6'5". Yeah. Like I think he's not great. He's not a natural fit there. But
he's been on the trading block. He's been there before. Yeah. There were some talks with him, and I don't know, with the De'Aaron Fox trade and then with Castle playing well, I don't know. I think Vassell would probably be the first guy out. If they do keep him, great. He's a good player. But yeah, interesting. We'll see, right? Time will tell with the Spurs.
I think you do bring up a good point where they do feel like they just have honestly too many guys. Where it's like the same problem that the Raptors do, except the Raptors have it in like their starting lineup where the Spurs sort of have it in their bench. Yeah. It's like, how are you going to find all these guys minutes to be able to prove that they are worth being there for the future? I think they probably should have swung a deal with Johnson to, I don't know, like I think they need to consolidate even more than they already have in their lineup. But I understand being weary about choosing guys' futures when you haven't seen enough of them yet. So I understand, but they seem like they have a couple too many guys.
Alrighty, Julien. I don't think we heard your biggest loser. Who you got?
My biggest loser. I'd say we didn't talk about. I mean, it was initially the Bulls. I won't talk about them because we already talked. I think the Suns lacked. Yeah. I don't know. I couldn't tell you where. I think they lacked somewhere.
They didn't do anything. That's where they lacked.
I mean, they just. I don't know.
I kind of have the same problem with the Brooklyn Nets. I feel like they should have done something. Yeah. Cam Johnson was on the table the entire time. They didn't find one. Sure. Yeah. But they do have that huge amount of picks from the Mikal Bridges trade, so they're in a less.
Yeah, they're chilling.
They're in a better spot than the Phoenix Suns are.
Yeah,
I still think they should have done something.
What do they even have? Do they even have something?
They
left?
have no capital.
They were trying so hard.
Everything went
to
the Wizards for Beal and the Nets for Durant.
Yeah, they're screwed. That Bradley Beal contract.
They've never had depth. They still don't have depth. Now they have no
Without
depth
Nurkic.
And no picks.
No Nurkic.
Yeah, no Nurkic. I don't know where this. I think they just gotta wait till the wheels fall off and Durant retires and Beal retires, or just sign somewhere else.
Where do you think Booker falls within all of it?
Booker, I could see him as a lifelong son. I don't think he wants to leave. Yeah. I don't think he's going to request a trade out of there.
I hope
he's been through worse Phoenix Suns phases than this.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Like the Tyler Ulis Phoenix Suns. But I could definitely see Booker staying.
But do you think not career. Booker staying? Do you think it's the Suns that trade him because he's going to make them too good?
I don't think
actually
that.
Tank.
I don't think Booker will make them good enough to once again they got the DeAndre Ayton first overall pick with Booker on the roster. I mean,
yeah, but Booker's not the same Booker he is now.
He's a pretty similar level to when he was in 2017.
I feel like Booker's not the type of guy to, like, he's not a I don't know how to explain.
He wouldn't carry a bottom level team.
I don't think he has that. He's a great player, but he's not that type of player, right? I don't know how to explain. He's gonna put up the stats.
Kind of like Beal with the Wizards.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Seriously, yeah. I mean, I prefer D-Book than Beal, honestly.
Yeah,
for sure.
But I don't know. I kind of Finn, you quickly said it on the mic, but I think they should have probably let go of KD and get something out of him now before.
Yeah. How much? What do you guys think was offered for KD? Like, what do you think
was set to go?
Yeah,
he was set to go
for what?
To the Warriors for I think Wiggins and some stuff.
And he said no.
He said was like, I don't want to play.
Yeah, he doesn't want to. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they were ready to do it. He said no.
I wouldn't want to play there either way.
No.
Yeah. Anyway. But I feel like they should have done something. like the Nurkic move in a way because I know he had to go. There were some locker room issues.
It's money on the books.
And
too.
they got
He's so bad.
Yeah, he's probably the worst defending big man in the NBA.
One of the worst value players in the NBA.
Yeah.
No, seriously. And they got a good center back. If you guys want
Nick Richards.
Nick Richards.
Yep.
He's been,
I got a Nick Richards auto trading card. I want him starting
here you go.
center in Phoenix.
He's solid. He was playing well in.
He was playing great. He was averaging like 10 and 10.
Yeah, in Charlotte he was playing well. Now he's playing well in Phoenix as well. But I don't know. Still, we'll see. We'll see with the Suns. I think even less than 2 years they're gonna be screwed. Once KD's gone,
that's why I said you just ride the bus till the wheels
and that
fall
Bradley
off.
Beal contract.
Wait till those contracts are just done. You're not gonna compete.
Yeah,
you don't have the draft capital to rebuild.
Are they in the apron?
I think they're in the
with three players.
They might be in the second apron.
Yeah.
Which is
Bradley Beal is making 50 mil plus.
So
don't they have three?
I
What's
think.
Booker making?
It's 2 years.
I'll look.
It's 2 years in the apron, and you lose all your picks or something like that.
2 years and you lose your.
All your picks go move to the back of the first round, right?
Yeah, don't you lose your first?
It gets moved to the back.
Okay.
In the first round.
Booker's making $50 million. KD's making $50 million.
They have
Beal's making
three
$50 million.
players making $50 million.
And they're not even that good. They're not. I don't think they're
No.
going anywhere.
They're not making the playoffs.
No.
So I hope they will, but I don't know. It's bad. So for that, they're my losers because they should have done something. Either they should have commit to something.
I don't even know what they could do, to be honest.
Trade KD was the best option for me.
Yeah, nothing was there.
Beal, there's no way you're trading him. His contract is horrible, just horrible. But yeah.
How many years does Beal have left?
I'm
asking a lot of
a
questions.
few. If
Not up
I
to
could,
date on my Phoenix Suns ball knowledge.
Yeah, me too.
Two.
he's got one more in a player option.
Yeah.
So too.
Which you'll take.
Yeah.
Yeah.
1+1. Yeah.
Yeah. If I want to say something here,
Yeah.
I really hope I think that's a great take for losing or your loser, Julien.
Yeah.
I really hope this is the end of the era of let's just trade everybody to get a big name. I think Matt Ishbia came in, new owner, he's all rowdy. He's like, let's just go get as many people as possible, and it has failed epically.
It doesn't work.
And they're going to be a really bad team for a long time now. And I hope teams realize that you can't do that anymore. You have to build organically. That's how basketball should be.
Yeah.
A good basketball team should be built.
Yeah.
I just hope we sort of get into a place where there are more bookers who are going to stick it out with their teams.
Yeah.
And I understand that doesn't really make sense from a franchise level because, you're not going to be like Trae Young where he's just stuck on the team forever. But I think I'd like to see a lot more players stick it out and really build an affinity with their fan bases. And I think that, I think that's something that Trae Young has really done. But at a certain level, you do have to trade the guy.
Yeah.
I just feel like it shouldn't be
sucks because it has worked out for players like Giannis and Curry who've done it, but Beal wanted that, had to go because it got worse, and Booker's about to enter that stage. Jokic has done well, but I could see Booker sticking it out just simply because he's been through this stage of Phoenix Suns rebuilds before, like in the 2017 era of Phoenix Suns with, as we said, Eric Bledsoe. I believe Derrick Jones Jr. was on that team. It was poverty in Phoenix. So I feel like Devin Booker being used to that and used to that era of Phoenix Suns, I think he could stick it out for the rest of his career. I don't know, with trade deadlines being as active as this, I can't see it happening very much more consistently with newer players. But look, Luka Doncic wanted to be a Maverick forever, and look where he's at. So,
Yeah.
Before we end here, I think we've all covered our surprises just through talking about random teams. But who did we all have for surprises? Biggest surprise?
I think one of my biggest ones was Raptors actually being buyers. I feel like that was an interesting take that honestly worked out for the Raptors this year.
Yeah, that was mine too.
That's mine as well.
I also think, even though it did get rescinded, the fact that the Lakers got Mark Williams for a short amount of time. That was a center that wasn't really on my radar for going to the Lakers. I know they were looking at Pirtle a solid bit. Walker Kessler was on the table. But yeah, Mark Williams didn't really pop into my mind with him being so young, and I didn't know if the Hornets were willing to move him or not. I loved the package that the Hornets did get in return. So I feel like that just overall concept of the trade shocked me in a way that it worked out tremendously for both teams, even though it didn't end up going through. Yeah.
I mean, my surprise, I went over it. I won't repeat myself, but the Spurs, and more specifically not trading away Castle, I was surprised. Good for them that they got to take, or Castle or Vassell. So yeah, that was my biggest surprise.
Well, I think that's it.
Any more surprises, ladies and gentlemen?
Covered all there is to cover.
Yeah.
I feel like we went into depth on this very active NBA trade deadline. One of the most active I've seen in my lifetime. I don't know about you guys, but it was a very fun span of a week that started with Luka Doncic and Anthony Davis, which lit a fire under every single butt of GMs in the NBA. But it was a very fun week, and it's very fun to talk about the NBA trade deadline, and nothing beats it.
Best time of the year.
Oh, yeah.
Alrighty, that is all the time we have for today. We ask that whether you agree or disagree to join us, join the discussion in the comments on X at ShutterSportsM or on Instagram at ShutterSportsMedia. I've been your host, Cam Stirling, joined by
Finn Noel, Lucky Roberts,
Julien Rose.
Thank you for listening, and this has been the Shutter Sports Podcast.